Well, the BlackStar Canyon story is one that I think that needs to be told more because I think people look at the mission system. They can accept that it may have had its bad points or education points, but then with post secularization of Americans, there has been much discussion about whether there was genocide after the Americans came or not. And I think when we look at the policies and the starvation policies and the vigilantism that you were talking to, we get a different story, kind of. And it's not wasn't an overnight turn to the American system, but the mission system still be in effect. Is that
Yeah, it was, and people, people were still transitioning too. They weren't really familiar with a lot of these newer changes that were coming about. But with the mission system that had been imposed upon the people, there was more of a goal to incorporate the people into society. And with the Americans taking over, there wasn't that.
there's no mountain pot?
There was no melting pot. It was, there was to annihilate the people. They were a nuisance as far as the Americans were concerned, and they had land that they wanted.
Yeah.
You know, so what better way to get the land than to get rid of the people who actually had ties. And there was the whole Treaty of Guadalupe, Hidalgo, that was never acknowledged, and things like that, where people where the takeover was supposed to have enacted these laws which protected the land for not only the Californians, but some of the indigenous people. But
Yeah.
that stuff was totally thrown away, and it was a very traumatic period. People were just we were refugees basically in our own homeland, and that's during that period and later periods is where you start to see this type of hiding, I guess you could say, hiding your identity and merging in with a lot of
Mm.
us because of the intermarriage with Mexican people who are coming up here. It was hiding and disguising, the identities that way.
Mm.
And only keeping those identities relevant or to your families
Yeah.
and letting people know who you really were. But that's when you start to see that transition of things happening also, because it was
And
a
that
way to
seems to be
survive.
common with a lot of Tombo people. They had
Yeah,
to merge with the Mexican side of their families to some
yeah.
extent.